Today is a fusion of two programs. In Raj Nivas, we started the Art and Culture Series and also Lecture Series. About 2 years back we started. As envisaged by our beloved and Reverend Governor Dr. Kiran Bedi. Basically, this lecture series is to inspire people by sharing the knowledge, the intellect, and it's for meeting of minds. And today is the 12th edition of the lecture series. Art and culture, and the country is known for the greatest edition of art and culture. So this is also again a sharing of our cultural value, what we can share. And today is the 13th edition. Just before starting off this program, we participated in the Art and Culture edition 13. Basically, we got two poster exhibitions which talks about Sri Aurobindo's freedom movement, India's freedom contribution of Sri Aurobindo. And also there is an exhibition titled Nari Shakti, Women and Indomitable Spirit. So both have been placed, the exhibitions are available here. So these exhibits will be available during the weekend, starting today, it goes up to 9 September. So all are welcome. In fact, we like to keep these exhibition halls open for students also, students and people from various walks of life. And today we have assembled here on the occasion of 12th edition of Lecture Series. We got two eminent speakers, and they are going to share with us on two topics. I am happy to introduce Dr. Sampadananda Mishra. He is going to speak on Shakti, an Indian perspective on true embodiment of women. And Dr. Beloo Mehra, and she is going to speak in the topic of Sri Aurobindo, a yogi revolutionary. When I was just reading the synopsis of these two lectures, my mind was really connecting two revolutionary people, not one, two, and both came to Pondicherry as a refugee to escape from the wrath of British India. One is Sri Aurobindo, the other is Bharati, the great poet. Both had great respect for each other. Sri Aurobindo would have been inspired by Sri Bharati, and Bharati was inspired by Sri Aurobindo. They had such a great relationship. I learned somewhere Sri Aurobindo used to have a visitor's time in the evening, like in Raj Nivas we have visitor's time, people come in the evening. But for Bharati, there is no fixed time. As he likes, he can just enter and speak to him. That kind of oneness they had. And they were igniting the fire each other. Both Bharati as well as Sri Aurobindo, they are revolutionary. Madam is going to speak about revolutionary. He is a revolutionary poet. Similarly, the Shakti, Nari Shakti, Sri Bharati, he not only advocates for empowerment of women, at one level, he absolutely believes that women are not only equal, but sometimes they are ahead of men. So he postured women, the Shakti, even a step ahead of women. In that way, both revolutionary leaders were in Pondicherry, inspiring each other. So really, I am thankful to both our eminent speakers today. We are going to listen how they revolutionized, how they placed women ahead of the rest. According to Bharati, he said, he always speaks about Shakti, Parashakti, Shakti is a women empowerment. And Sri Aurobindo, he is a freedom fighter, no doubt about it. But his freedom is not from materialistic manner of freedom. He is not from just like the liberty of a country from a foreign yoke. He had a universal kind of vision. He felt that India is a superpower in knowledge, in spiritual matters, in spirituality, as well as intellectuals. So India was already a superpower. It was temporarily held by the foreign under the foreign yoke. So the freedom, according to Sri Aurobindo, is not only from material liberty. The country has been, of course, it has been liberated from material slavery. The ultimate purpose is the country has to rise up and attain the world glory, the superpower glory of intellectual and spirituality, so that it will lead the coming centuries all the countries ahead. Truly, he was a revolutionary. He was an universal human being, a man beyond boundaries. And similarly, Bharati also, if you read his poems, you get goosebumps. The way he speaks about the country, the way he speaks about the spiritual inheritance we have from our forefathers, the way he speaks about the power of women. That way, Pondicherry is really blessed. We got at the same time, for about 10 years, both of them together. And I'm happy that Raj Nivas is blessed today by getting two eminent lecturers, and they're going to speak to us and enlighten us and inspire us. What is real revolution? What is a great empowerment? So, on behalf of Dr. Kiran Bedi, I welcome both our respected speakers and other respected guests of this evening. Our Vice Chancellor is here and other senior citizens are here. Ladies and gentlemen, I once again welcome you for this beautiful evening. Thank you very much.
Namaste everyone. Honorable Dr. Kiran Bedi ji, Professor Gurmeet Singh, Honorable Professor Gurmeet Singh ji, Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry University, and all other distinguished guests. Before I begin the lecture, I just want to make a quick mention that both the exhibitions that you will see in the halls downstairs were first exhibited at Pondicherry University. So we are really happy and really glad to see Professor Gurmeet Singh here, and the encouragement that he's been giving us to bring programs from SAFIC to the university, and we've been coordinating many programs there. So it's really an honor, ma'am, and the whole Raj Nivas team, for you to give us this opportunity to speak on a topic that is the subject matter of one of the exhibitions also that is being organized here. So the topic that's been given to me, Sri Aurobindo, a Yogi Revolutionary, is so vast, as you can very well imagine, that it can take several hours just to cover even a part of it. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to summarize and briefly highlight a few data points that we can call them as, which paint a picture of who this Yogi Revolutionary Sri Aurobindo was. So I begin with one of Sri Aurobindo's quotes where he says, "I've always held and said that India was arising not to serve her own material interests only, not only to achieve expansion, power and prosperity, though these two she must not neglect." That's the key point. And certainly not like others to acquire domination of other peoples, but to live also for God and the world as a helper and leader of the whole human race. This is how Sri Aurobindo looked at the mission of India. India must rise, must discover her greatness, must be prosperous, but not only materially, but in all ways, intellectually, vitally, and most importantly, spiritually. But this rise is for a larger role that she must fulfill for world and humanity. Today, the term that is often used is Vishwaguru. This is the vision of India that also helps us understand Sri Aurobindo's contribution to Indian freedom movement. If India had to be world spiritual guru, first and foremost, she must be free. So our exhibition here that you will see in the hall, beautiful hall downstairs, speaks of a story of a revolutionary whom the British called as the most dangerous man. This was the view of Lord Minto, the then Viceroy of India, as well as several other prominent leaders, including the Governor of Bengal in early 1900s. But what made Sri Aurobindo the most dangerous man? Was it just only his words that could ignite a fire of freedom in the young hearts, that would inspire the young minds to throw everything they have and all they are at the feet of their motherland? Or was it because of Sri Aurobindo's secret political activities to unite the various revolutionaries from different parts of the country? All of these are very valid reasons to make him a dangerous man, but perhaps there was something more, something deeper. When people saw Sri Aurobindo from the outside, he was a quiet, lean, Bengali gentleman dressed in very simple clothes with deep eyes that seemed to gaze at something far beyond, having a soft voice with no pretense of any of his extraordinary intellectual accomplishments that British ever had to contend with. Because deep down, the British, perhaps even the British, knew that India's strength, India's Shakti, India's soul lies in her spirituality and yoga. Throughout her long history, whenever India needed to wake up from her slumber, it was her yogis, her rishis, her munis who have shown her the light and shown her the path. Sri Aurobindo, the yogi revolutionary, was a danger, for he had the potential to wake up a sleeping India. After his return to India in 1893 till 1906, for the 13-year period, he worked in the princely state of Baroda in various capacities. During the later parts of that Baroda period, he was involved in several political activities, but primarily from behind the scenes. But it was the partition of Bengal in 1905 that made Sri Aurobindo openly joined the nationalist movement. And during 1906 to 1910, he was actively involved in all kinds of political activities, including speaking at several public rallies, political events, leading the Lieutenant Governor of Bengal in 1908 to refer to him as the undisputed leader of Bengal revolutionaries. So it must be, of course, noted that for Sri Aurobindo, politics was not the end goal of all his revolutionary work. Even though he was the first political leader to put forward the idea of Purna Swaraj, complete independence for India, and he was also the first to give a complete program for Swadeshi and boycott, which was later picked up by several other nationalist leaders, including Mahatma Gandhi. So Sri Aurobindo's vision, the one that he gave for Swadeshi and boycott, was a remarkable piece of document which was both visionary as well as a highly practicable program of action. Persecuted twice for sedition and once for conspiracy, he was released all three times for lack of evidence. In one of his political writings, in fact, in many of his political writings in Bande Mataram and later in Karma Yogin, we can see the seeds of his integral philosophy that he would later on expand in his writings, especially in the human cycle, the ideal of human unity, and also in seed form in many other yogic and philosophical writings that he would do. He could see that the next stage of progress, next stage of advancement for humanity was not material, but a psychical, spiritual path, spiritual progress. India's freedom was seen the destiny of humanity by Sri Aurobindo. As he wrote, India must have Swaraj in order to live for the world, not as a slave for the material and political benefit of a single purse-proud and selfish nation, but a free people for the spiritual and intellectual benefit of the human race. Few words about his practice of yoga that had started in 1904 itself while he was still in Baroda, starting with pranayam that he learned on his own with the help of a friend. His yoga, he always said, was for nation's freedom. In January 1908, he met a Maharashtrian yogi named Vishnu Bhaskar Lele, who instructed him on how to reach complete silence of the mind and immobility of the whole consciousness. Sri Aurobindo was able to achieve this in 3 days, and later he said that that silent mind never left him, that silence that he had achieved never left him since then. All his political work and writing since then happened with this silent mind, this silent mind. This was one of the several lasting and massive spiritual realizations that he would have later on. So once when he was asked to give a speech after this realization of silent Brahman, silent mind, he felt that he had nothing to say at a political rally, and Lele was with him and he instructed him, he just told him, go to the podium and do a pranam to the divine, to the audience, and it will be taken care of. So the whole speech came to him from above, Sri Aurobindo wrote in one of his writings later on, and that was the case for every time after that. So one letter in particular that he wrote to his wife, dated August 30th, 1905, needs a quick mention here, because it was the first time Sri Aurobindo spoke of this deep yogic aspiration in him, his inner quest to realize the divinity within, his intense yearning to see India free and strong, and his profound passion to sacrifice everything that he has and that he is to the divine. He called these as his three madnesses. We may see them as true making of the yogi revolutionary that he was. His love for the country was not a mere patriotic love of a partisan variety that makes one attached to one's own country of birth and regard it as the greatest and the best. No, he adored, he worshipped India because he knew that India alone is the keeper of the profoundest knowledge. And India is the battlefield where the battle for all the dark, asuric forces of ignorance and the forces of light and truth. It's that battleground where India would show the way to the world, the ways of the spirit. And we see this yogic spirit expressed in some of the ideals that he spoke of, the ideals which inspired generation, and they continue to inspire generations today as well. I'll just give you a couple of examples. His ideal of Swaraj. He said, our ideal of Swaraj involves no hatred of any other nation, nor even of the administration which is now established by the law in this country. Our ideal of patriotism proceeds on the basis of love and brotherhood, and it looks beyond the unity of the nation and envisages the ultimate unity of mankind. But it is a unity of brothers, equals and free men that we seek, not the unity of master and serf, the devourer and the devoured. This is how he saw freedom in the context of the larger unity of mankind. These ideals express his wide and all-embracing vision that only a yogi truly can have. So I spoke earlier about the realization of the silent mind in 1908, but there were a few other realizations, very profound realizations that he had before that, once when he visited the Shankaracharya Hill in Kashmir, and once at a very old Kali temple in Chandod at the banks of Narmada River. And later he would have another massive realization in the prison. So I'm just going to speak a little bit about his time in prison. It was in May 1908 that he was arrested on this famous, with regard to the famous Alipur bomb case. Something which would have been the most horrific experience for an ordinary person became a spiritual retreat for the yogi that Sri Aurobindo was. As he wrote in his book, Tales of Prison Life later on, and this is one of my favorite lines from that book, the only result of the wrath of the British government was that I found God. Speaking of his imprisonment, as a year-long living in an ashram, he wrote, for long I had made great efforts for a direct vision of the Lord of my heart. I had entertained the immense hope of knowing the preserver of the world, the supreme person as friend and master. But due to the pull of 1,000 worldly desires, see, this is the yogi talking about, this is the yogi Sri Aurobindo talking about his worldly desires when he had renounced everything. And so it's a great lesson for us. He's talking about, but due to the pull of 1,000 worldly desires, attachments towards numerous activities, the deep darkness of ignorance, I did not succeed in that effort. At long last, the merciful all-good Lord destroyed all these enemies at one stroke and helped me in my path, pointed me to the yogashram, that's the prison, himself staying as guru and companion in my little abode of retirement. After his release in 1909, on May 30th, 1909, he gave a speech that has become a very famous speech of Sri Aurobindo at Uttarpara, West Bengal. He spoke about the spiritual realization that he had in the prison of Vasudevam Sarvamiti, and I'll just read a few lines from that. He said, I looked at the jail that secluded me from men, and it was no longer by its high walls that I was imprisoned. No, it was Vasudeva who surrounded me. I walked under the branches of the tree in front of my cell, but it was not the tree. I knew it was Vasudeva. It was Sri Krishna whom I saw standing there and holding over me his shade. Remember, much of this was written while he was in the prison, the poetry, or soon after the release from the prison. It was Narayana who was guarding and standing sentry over me, or I lay on coarse blankets that were given me for a couch and felt the arms of Sri Krishna around me, the arms of my friend and lover. So he then goes on to speak about seeing Sri Krishna in the prisoners, seeing Sri Krishna in the bars, in the sentries, when the court trial was going on seeing Sri Krishna in the judge, in the prosecutor, everyone present in the court hall. So it was God who was leading the fight for India's freedom, Sri Aurobindo often said and wrote during this political revolutionary phase. Just as all his political work was God-directed, so was his decision to leave politics. It was a divine command which he followed when he came to Pondicherry in 1910. And he spoke about that in many of his letters. And there's a particular letter in October 1932 where he said something very interesting, something very relevant for the topic, to give a picture of Sri Aurobindo as a political revolutionary. He wrote, I have cut connection entirely with politics, but before I did so, I knew from within that the work I had begun there was destined to be carried forward on lines I had foreseen, but by others, and that the ultimate triumph of the movement I had initiated was sure without my personal action or presence. There was not the least motive of despair or sense of futility behind my withdrawal. That's the yogi in him. This was the will of the yogi Sri Aurobindo, the spiritual nationalism that he spoke of as a revolutionary. And to conclude, I'm just going to remind all of us here a few words again from Sri Aurobindo, where he gives us a message that we have to carry forward as a free and strong India. He wrote once, to give up one's small individual self and find the larger self in others, in the nation, in humanity, in God. That is the law of Vedanta. That is the message of India, he said. Only she must not be content with sending it to others. She must rise up and live it before all the world so that it may be proved as a possible law of conduct, both for men and nations. The word proved tells us again the insight about this yogi, because yogi is like a scientist. It has to be proved that this can be a way of living life. Only then it can be sent out to the world. So the question that all of us have to ask ourselves is, are we willing, are we ready to rise up and live this message of India before we send it out to others? Thank you and namaste.
Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. With this invocation to the Divine Mother, I express my heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Dr. Kiran Bedi ji that this program would take place was decided in this very hall, very spontaneously. And this is how it is happening. My topic is Nari Shakti, Indian perspective. Being a student of Sanskrit and much deep into the root sounds, what amuses me is the words Nari Shakti. Most of the problems related to women empowerment, gender equality, inequality, they're rooted in the misinterpretation of the word Nari Shakti. The word Nari Shakti can be interpreted in these two different ways. What is usually taken as the Shakti of the Nari, Nari Shakti. But when we look at the Vedantic perspective, or most of the ideas given to us by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, it is Nari Eva Shakti, the Nari herself as Shakti. This is how the Vedic seers and sages worshipped Nari as Shakti, not Shakti of Nari. This begins with the whole story of creation. When we go to the Vedantic realizations, how this creation comes about. And in a most practical sense, the human life begins with the touch of the Mother. This is the creation. This is where the creation begins. And it begins with this Shakti. When the Paramatma, the Paratpara, the transcendental Purusha, or that Paramatman, he wishes to become many, that one indivisible alone wants to become many. The primordial Shakti is the Ichha Shakti. That's what the three words that we learned from this video, Ichha Shakti, Karma Shakti, and Jnana Shakti. So everything begins with that Ichha Shakti, that he wanted to become many. And then he visualized whatever this creation is, this entire creation was in his vision. And this vision was known as the Jnana Shakti, the perception. He looked at himself, what he could become. So that is why this whole world is called a loka, because he looked at. The English word look and loka in Sanskrit comes from the same root sound, look. Lochanam is also called the eyes, because you look through the eyes. Then when he visualized what he would become, he had the complete vision of this entire creation. Then he effectuated it, he actualized it, and that is what is known as the Karma Shakti or Kriya Shakti. The better word which is used in the Upanishadic text is Kriya Shakti. So these primordial three Shaktis, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. Of to Ichha and Jnana, it is all with that Supreme Purusha. When it comes to Kriya, when it comes to execution, when it comes to the creation, then the rest part belongs to the Nari, the Prakriti. So this is where we again come to learn about three important words. When this Paratpara Purusha, when that Supreme Transcendental Purusha, he decided to become this creation, he moved from himself, and this movement was called Atman. And the mechanism by which he moved or became this finite, the immeasurable, becoming the measurable, measured one. So this limiting mechanism was called Maya. This is also the Paramashakti. So Maya is not in the Vedic and Vedantic perspective the illusion, but it is the measuring, limiting mechanism coming from the root sound Ma, means to measure. And this is the reason why a mother is called Mata, coming from the same root, like in a very beautiful passage, Nalini Kanta Gupta ji, one of the sadhaks who came with Sri Aurobindo and lived in the early times, he has a beautiful book about women. So there he describes that thinking, ideas, thoughts, conceiving, it belongs to the Purusha, but execution belongs to the Prakriti. So the Mata. So it is Mata, it is a Nari who gives a finite shape, bringing the infinite into the finite level. And this indeed was described in our Shastras as an impossible event. Very beautifully, the phrase goes like this: Aghatana Ghatana Patiyasi. It is the Nari, it is the Divine Mother who can make this task of impossible possible. Aghatana Ghatana Patiyasi. This is how the Divine Mother is described. And what is this Aghatana Ghatana? What is this making impossible possible? That measuring the immeasurable, making the infinite finite, and then helping this creation to move on, executing everything, effectuating everything. That is the real Shakti of the Divine Mother. So this is the perspective that we get from the Vedantic scriptures, that what kind of respect, what kind of worship, adoration they had for this Divine Shakti or the Nari Shakti. Nari Shakti was never, as I mentioned in the earlier, was not of the Nari, but Nari Aj Shakti. Then, in the beautiful exhibition that we have put, the compilation that we have made from different sources, you will find there, it begins with a mantra from the Rig Veda, invoking the Supreme Mother as Aditi. In the Vedas, Aditi is the Supreme Divine Mother. The word Aditi means the indivisible consciousness. This indivisible consciousness, undivided consciousness, that one alone which represents the unity of consciousness, is at the source of this creation. And all our human problems, they begin with the division. So that is why all the Daityas, Danavas are belonging to this divided consciousness. So as long as, so that is where when we again go to the Indian perspective or look at the solutions which were given in the Vedas and Upanishads and the Gita and in the various other scriptures, so we find that this dvitva, this duality, these binaries were at the root of all problems of humanity. And what is the solution? The solution is to transcend the binaries, go beyond the dualities, dvandvatita, transcending the binaries and attaining to this ekatva or the unity of consciousness represented by Aditi. So that is why all the gods, all those who have attained to this unity of consciousness, this ekatva and samatva. Samatva means that sameness, equality, equanimity. So this attainment of ekatva and samatva, this was considered to be the solution to all our problems. And this ekatva, oneness, and this samatva, sameness or equality or equanimity, this unity of consciousness was represented by Aditi, the mother. So ultimately, one has to grow from this limited consciousness to attain this vast, infinite consciousness, undivided consciousness, and then operate in this world from this state of equanimity, this state of oneness, this state of samatva and ekatva. Then there is a solution. If there are problems, and we know in the name of feminism, in the name of Nari Shakti, women empowerment, what is going on. But that doesn't bring a real solution. The real solution lies in this realizations of the seers and sages, that in order to find a lasting solution to our problems, the problems of the humanity, one has to attain to transcend all the binaries, transcend all the dualities and attain to this ekatva and samatva. I remember that in the Vedic Vedantic perspective, in the realizations of the rishis, when something has to be attained, there's a beautiful anecdote in the Kenopanishad. The gods were very, arrogant about their victory over the enemies. So they got the victory, and each one was boasting over its own power. So Agni said, "It is because of me we got the victory." Indra said, "It is because of me we got the victory." So the same way, Vayu said, "It is because of me we got the victory." Then when this quarrel was going on after the attainment of the victory, so they suddenly found some strange light appearing before them. And they were surprised. They said, "What is this light?" No one could identify or recognize this light. It was beyond their purview. So, as representatives, all the gods decided to send Agni first, that you go and then find out what is this. So when Agni went, this strange light, it asked Agni, "Who are you?" He said, "I am Agni." "What's your power?" "I can burn the entire creation. I am Anala. I am the all-devourer. The entire creation can go into my mouth still. Nothing can satisfy me. Within a fraction of a second, I can burn the entire creation." So that effulgent being placed a very, one dry blade of grass before Agni and then said, "Burn it." And Agni put all its force but couldn't burn it. The same thing, very humiliated, he came back and reported it to others that, "I failed to understand who is this." Then it was the turn of Vayu, went and then failed in the same way. Then it was the turn of Indra. When Indra went, it disappeared. And then Indra was confused. Why did it disappear? So it asked, "Where are you? Who are you? Why did you disappear?" Then he sees a beautiful woman appearing before him. And Indra, in the context of the Vedas, as per the psychological esoteric interpretation of of Sri Aurobindo, Indra represents the purity, the pure divine mind, to which everything is revealed. And when this revelation happens, it happens through the Divine Mother. So that beautiful woman named Uma, possibly the word woman can be connected with Uma. This Uma reveals to Indra what that effulgent being was. And when we turn to the Vedas, we will find all the faculties and forces which belong to the supramental world described by Sri Aurobindo. The pure intuition, the pure inspiration, the pure revelation, the pure intuitive discrimination power, all these different faculties are represented by the female deities. Usha representing the illumination, Saraswati representing the truth, audition, the Prerana Shakti, inspiration, Ila representing the truth, vision, representing the revelation, Dakshina representing the discrimination power. So most of the words, one very important thing that we find in the ancient Indian scriptures, that all the soul values, they are feminine. When in the Gita, Sri Krishna speaks about what are the different qualities, what are the different values that one should manifest within in order to attain to perfection, is all these values, when we see, they are all in feminine gender. Shraddha, Titiksha, Daya, Karuna, Anukampa, Dhriti, Buddhi. So most of the soul values, the soul qualities, they all belong to the Divine Mother. These are those manifestations. Now, very interestingly, this is the 12th edition of the lecture series here, and 12 is a very significant number in Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's philosophy. So, Mother has her symbol. Those symbols have in the middle 4 petals representing Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati. Again symbolically representing the wisdom, power, love and harmony and self-giving, surrender, perfection of Saraswati. And all the 12 petals are the soul values, that the qualities that one should manifest in order to realize one's own perfection. So this 12 makes complete. These 12 values inculcated and manifested within oneself can lead us towards that perfection and attainment of that state of unity of consciousness where we can operate in the right way or realize what right is, what rhythm is. So from our journey, in our journey of evolution, so from the state of duality to the attainment of the state of oneness and sameness, it is the Mother Divine, it is that Shakti which leads us and helps us in the attainment of the Shakti. This indeed was the perspective, very briefly I mentioned, but as always, every topic that we choose, that the human mind can conceive is vast. So with these few words, again I thank the whole Raj Nivas team for facilitating this program, and then I thank you all for coming here and then attending this program.
I'm in a completely listening mode right now. A moment where I wish to go into myself and reflect. Who am I? Am I that Nari, or am I the executor and the thinker? I think the modern woman has become both. She's a thinker and an executor today. That's the difference, I do believe. I'm not an academic, I'm not a philosopher, I'm basically an executor. But when I think myself, what am I executing? I think like the masculine thinker. I've actually seen your exhibition. You were helping me assimilate and recall and revise what I saw. First of all, I want to thank you both for finding the time for us. You're very right, friends. This idea was conceived here when the Aurobindo Society brought students who were non-resident Indians who were visiting Raj Nivas as visitors. And when we found them so brilliant, so inspired, talking about all the values you were reflecting from our Upanishads and Vedas, and that you talked about this exhibition of Sri Aurobindo and the Shakti, Nari Shakti or Shakti, we thought, why should Raj Nivas be deprived of that treasure, because you'd headed at the Pondicherry University. And we thought it should be brought in here to Raj Nivas for it to then be transmitted to others. So when we saw your exhibition, we were thrilled. You made my day, and you've given me nutrition for the rest of my career here. We are not going to let your exhibition leave our walls at all. Neither your Shakti nor your Aurobindo. And you see, we've replaced all our own photos and spiritualized our walls. You've helped us empower and spiritualize Raj Nivas walls. They will stay with us, and that's what I said in one of my recording with Vijay, that Sri Aurobindo has finally come here. From the beginning of my career here, I was looking for films and presentations about Sri Aurobindo. He was somehow or the other calling me. There was a thirst to know more and more. But when you read him, you need to be totally in it. Totally in it. And with this kind of work, many times we can't be totally in it because there are far too many pull pressures to take you away. So therefore, I'm so happy, the kind of exhibitions you brought, when we move from the start and go on, it's a full day long exhibition. You've got to stay on at every post, every message of what he said. I loved the message he wrote to to his own wife, the three, which I loved the most. But then it's all, each one is a journey by itself. I photographed it. The one of the mother, what she wrote to his wife. I photographed it. Where is it gone? Let me see. No, wait a minute. I had to. The three madnesses. He said, "Dearest Mrinalini, I think you've understood by now that the man whose fate yours has been linked is a man of very unusual character. I have three madnesses. First one is this. I firmly believe that the accomplishments, genius, higher education, and learning and wealth that God has given me are His. I have a right to spend for my own purpose only what is needed. I have a right to spend for my own purposes only what is needed for the maintenance of the family and is otherwise absolutely essential. The rest must be returned to God." Second madness. My second madness has only recently seized me. It is this: by whatever means I must have the direct vision of whatever means I must have the direct vision of God. If God exists, there must be some way to experience His existence, to meet Him face to face. However arduous the path is, I've made up my mind to follow it. My third madness is that which others look upon. My third madness is that while others look upon their country as a mere piece of matter, a few meadows and fields, forests and hills, I look upon my country as the mother. I adore her. I worship her as the mother. What would a son do if a demon sat on his mother's breast and started sucking her blood? I know I have the strength to deliver this fallen race. It is not physical strength, but it is a strength of knowledge. This feeling is not new in me. It is not of today. I was born with it. It is in my very marrow. God sent me to earth to accomplish this great mission. The seed began to sprout when I was 14. By the time I was 18, the roots of the resolution had grown firm and unshakable. You brought it here to Raj Nivas. Asha and I read it together, and I videographed it. It was not a still, I videoed it. We have a video to show. Please see this video which we have. Vijay, have you made it? Come, see this. And this exhibition is not going to go now. Now we have to find a way, how do we preserve it carefully? And I was thinking we'll ask Lalit. This treasure has come to Raj Nivas for a reason. And the reason is, connect me with the youth. Connect me with the youth of this country. There is a reason for this exhibition today to come to Raj Nivas. Reason is, connect me with the youth of India. And we shall. This exhibition will be forever. As long as I'm here as Lieutenant Governor, this exhibition will stay here. And as I've told Asha, she will invite the Comptroller Raj Nivas, she will invite one school a day for children to come and read this themselves and then write an essay on what they've written and then leave an essay behind. We will spread this message of Sri Aurobindo to the youth of Puducherry. We sent it away. We sent it, tweeted. This has gone to 12 million already. And we have tagged you both. Both of you tagged in this. We wanted to spread. I think it was waiting to happen. Because nature has its own ways of sending you what you're all the time asking yourself. And I've been asking for Aurobindo here. How? Somehow. And I've been searching for films, etc. Like our Vice Chancellor is looking for the chair of Sri Aurobindo. This is the thirst within him. And somehow we wanted him in. So this exhibition now we have to cover it in such a way, and Asha will now put it on the site because we will be inviting one school a day. One school a day, every child will read and read, sit back and write. Now we want someone of you from the Aurobindo Society to come every morning with that school and explain it to them. And over the days, every day, we will be spreading this message by understanding, not listening, understanding. So if any one of you can come by turn, you will have a school, you explain it through the visuals, both the woman empowerment, Shakti, as well as Aurobindo. I think these are the two which is required. Moment society gets this goes into the inner strength and understand the values which we inherited from our spirituality. I think we'll understand how empowered we were. We are the strongest, the richest nation in this world when it comes to this kind of wisdom and knowledge. And then when the boys see the Shakti and the girls see the Shakti, they look at each other, say, who's who? I think that message will be very clearly given. So I think we'll have achieved what similarly, when the open house happens and when a lot of people come here, they'll also keep seeing Aurobindo. We get a lot of foreigners here during the visit. So I think it was waiting to happen. So we removed all our bird pictures and other pictures of trees. We removed them because we thought it was all in it. All those messages are in that. So friends, we want to thank you. Go ahead and see this exhibition. We now wait. We also have a Tamil book show. We have an author who's written it for children. We will send this to the best essayist. Whoever, maybe Lalit can come and do your duty. It's like doing your duty on a daily basis. My friend has given me this book. This is for children, right? You wrote this. Can we have this enough? We'll have enough. We'll procure it. No, we'll procure it so that you can publish more. And Raj Nivas will present this book to the best essays. We'll tell them. We'll give it to the best. You can come and evaluate also as an author.
Can be allowed to explain the Tamil.
Yeah, we can have we need Tamil teachers.
I'll be opting for that.
We will work with you. We'll work with you. Would you like to say?
Yes, I really thank our madam, our LG madam, for having given this opportunity. Definitely we will be propagating message of Sri Aurobindo to all Tamil students, because being a revolutionary poet, while she was giving a speech, she has touched so many things about his prison life, Kara Kahani, really touching. So this must go to the students, each and every Tamil student. Really, it's a dedicated soul. Sri Aurobindo is a dedicated divine personality whose messages should go to each and every corner of our nation. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
So what we think we can do, improve upon, it will be an improving upon, while one of you teachers will come, one school will come, and our videographer Vijay will take a minute and a half, pick up the statement of a child and shoot it every day to the world, to our media group. The school which came, this is what they had to say. Let's see what each child says little bit. So it's a minute and a half can go on our social media. So we'll keep this message going, whether it's of Shakti or if it's our own Sri Aurobindo. This is what I think we can begin with and see how it develops. It will become a repository, a total repository of all children are saying about Aurobindo and also about Shakti. Over a period it can become, we'll also be releasing this on YouTube, etc. So that it becomes, you click Aurobindo, see these minute and a half. Isn't it? And one day we can stitch it together as one film. We can stitch it together, you can see it separately, different. Let each child, we were also thinking that this slide will be read by a different child every day. Every slide, we'll have the slide and ask each child to read. And it will be in the child's voice and we'll put it on YouTube. Asha, anything else we've got as an idea to share?
Ma'am, I'm so humbled to even... well, when we went through this exhibition, it was much before the formal inauguration. But as always it happens in Raj Nivas, constant innovation. Innovation is a way of life, I think. So, learning. Okay, learning, empowerment and learning. So we've decided, as ma'am said, we'll be calling schools and ma'am said that initially we'll call one school a day, but then we'll give slots. So even if we have more than one school a day, we are willing to take on. And we'd really like to take this message to the youth of Puducherry. When we saw all these slides for us, for me, a Pondicherry in itself, it was a learning to learn so much. And we look forward to inspiring children and informing them about this. And of course, going by taking this ahead via social media, the YouTube, and further tweets and making short films on it, where the children are involved. When children are involved, immediately the whole family gets involved. So when the child is speaking, we are sure that the whole family is going to watch that YouTube. So that's ma'am's mission. When we said we'll have a voiceover, she said no, no professional. Let each child speak on each poster. So that's what we're trying to do in the near future, and we hope that the number of posters which are there, so many children will be there on our film, and when so many children are there, it means so many families and so many n number of people being impacted by this whole poster exhibition and the ideas behind. Thank you, ma'am, for giving us.
We can also say the poster, the message of the day. So we'll read one poster and use it for that minute and a half. So that basically means ashramites, people who are looking at a whole sequence, they can choose the day and they can click there. Do we have a YouTube channel of Aurobindo? We have. So we can use the same channel. We can go to that. We'll post it those. We'll post it there. So that it continues for anybody living around the world who've got inspired, ignited by him. We'll go and see what's happening, and every child narrating it as an experience. So we will make this beginning, but I'm sure ideas will generate as children come here. Every time, what is the child's new learning? So every child will come out uniquely. What is the takeaway of that child on that day? Okay. I want to thank you for coming, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the exhibition.